Right.
right? They've revamped everything. I mean, like they turned Lethal Weapon into a show. Come on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I want them to do it the way it was originally done. I want them to find artists and creatives who are
Yeah.
trying to do something who can actually who do have who like put they went to a system of finding people that clashed. Right, there's seven strangers.
Yeah.
They get three people that are on this side of the spectrum, three people on this side of the spectrum, and then one person in the middle. And really, you're just watching the one person in the middle go crazy while
Yeah.
these guys do crazy things.
Yeah. You made the transition from being a television personality to racing. So how has that transition been so far?
Crazy. It's
Yeah.
it's it's been so wild because it's not a transition where one stops and then another one begins. It's more of a transition of how do I link these together? And like those schedules just have been, especially without planning. Like normally I step back and I try and plan my year out, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got this coming up. I'll book this, then this, then. So I know I'm out of the country here. I know I'm filming here, and so I know when and where I can, do anything, vacation or whatever the thing might be. And now it's like racing is this super finite schedule, whereas filming is kind of it moves. So it's been this really crazy limbo of okay guys, I'm racing this weekend and then I'm leaving straight from Laguna Seca going to Boston. I'm filming in Boston for 8 days, immediately fly from Boston to out of the country, like the UK. I'm not, I can't really say, but like I
Yeah.
go out to Europe and I spend, 9 days filming in Europe and then come back. I've got 2 days rest and then we're right back at another race. So that part has been limbo, but it's been it's the life that, I've wanted.
Of course. And you competed in your first race in May. How was that experience competing in that race, and how did you do?
The experience was huge. Like that's like the way I can describe it. It was just so big. I mean,
Yeah.
almost 100,000 people are
Mhm.
there. It didn't, we do two different practice sessions for an hour each, and then we go on to qualify. And the practice sessions, we're all pretty scattered about, not everybody's on the track at the same time. So you don't get like a super bunched up feel. And then qualifying comes and like everyone's out there, everyone's trying to set a fast lap and like don't get in, and everyone's very serious. And so going out to qualifying, that was when it finally hit me of like, really what hit me was the question is, are you good enough to be here with
Mhm.
these guys? Right. And
Yeah.
number two, like right on the heels of that question is like, am I going to get somebody hurt?
Mhm.
And so that's what I was really thinking about. And then to get out there, and then once I got in the car and the car gets moving, now it's just like we're good. This is the space. This is what we're familiar with. So the experience was just huge. But then once we started driving, it felt, I felt at home. Did good in the race. So qualified 11, P11, which pretty dang good. We had
Yeah.
four cars starting behind us, and then got made up two positions during the race. Ended up having a blowout on my front left tire, so I had to do an entire lap. Like I had the blowout like
Yeah.
10 feet past the pit entry, and
Mm.
so I have to do the entire lap on a blown tire, which you have to go really slow because I'm trying not to tear up the car
Of
with all the
course.
rubber
Yeah.
flying. So did a super slow lap, which put us a lap down.
Hmm.
I think I did like it was like almost a 3 minute lap. So that one that hurt us. Was able to get the car in, got a new tire, or all four tires on, and then got James Vance in the car, or our finish driver. And about 15 minutes into that, we think the tire tore up some wires that were going from the compressor to the transmission, basically to shift. And
Yeah.
so the car wasn't shifting correctly.
Gotcha.
So we ended up retiring the car. But overall, I went out there and was able to hang with these guys in a
Yeah.
very difficult track in Laguna Seca. The worst, one of the worst possible scenarios could happen, having to do a lap with three
Yeah.
tires, and was able to bring the car home safe and sound. So I'm pretty okay with that. Obviously, I wanted a better outcome, but all in all, I think it was a great learning experience for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I watched your first episode of your docu-series called Just Drive, and you talked
Hmm.
about how racing has been a passion for you. But ultimately, what made you want to become a pro racer right now?
It it was literally opportunity. It's
Yeah.
just like Hyundai reached out to me about a year and a half ago, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to? We really like your style and what you're doing. Do you want to be an ambassador for the brand?" And at that time, I knew that they had a race team,
Yeah.
and I was following closely, and it's very difficult to get in. I have dirt bikes and I have cars and stuff, and I do track days, but you really have to like have it set up and like all the equipment ready to go to really do that and practice driving. So whenever Hyundai reached out, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I told my manager, I was like, I want to do this deal and I want to work well with them and I want to give them more than what they're asking because I want to be around their racing team and their environment. And he was like, all right, cool. So throughout the next year, just did that and was I would hit them up and say, "Hey, any races you have or any events, like I will come out there, like as an ambassador for you guys and shake hands and kiss babies and do that thing just to be
Yeah.
around that scene and just making myself available like that." First race of this year of the 2023 season was Daytona. I went to
Hmm.
Daytona. They invited me out for the drivers camp that they do every year and ended up meeting the Diley family, and they own Diley Motorsports, and they're a Hyundai team as well. And we we just hit it off, and they're like, "Do you want to come out and like test in one of the cars?" I was like, "Yeah." And so it was just opportunity, the chance to get in a car. Because where do you get a chance to get
Yeah.
in a rocket ship race car like these? And so that's where I was like, yeah, I was super scared to say yes, but my ego, and I just knew that like you're not going to get a chance to do this, so say yes and figure
Yeah.
it out. Because in my mind, I'm like, don't wreck this car, don't wreck this car.
Absolutely. And obviously, you're a veteran of the challenge, and you're also known for what you've done in the real world. Have you utilized some of the things you learned from the challenge and what you're doing now in racing?
Yeah, 100%, and it's the ability to like walk into so in a challenge, you don't get to test anything beforehand. You don't get
Yeah.
any like warm ups or anything like that. So you just got to show up and figure it out. And that's what it is for me, especially this is my first year at all these tracks. I have a sim, but it's not enough, so I'm showing up and learning the elevation changes and the turns and all this stuff, the breaking points all in the moment. And I have to do it quickly. I have 2 practice sessions to do it. And then we're qualifying and then we're racing. So that aspect of just not being freaked out because in the challenge as well, you show up and it's not just up some backyard game. It's a whole massive production that is sitting there and like 200 something people on crew are watching you like, all right, yeah, TJ blew the horn, you better go. And
Hmm.
so it's a similar feeling. The races are quite a bit bigger, but that feeling of just like unknown and not being scared of the unknown, I think that's the biggest crossover.
Absolutely. So, obviously, racing can be very challenging, but what would you say has been the biggest obstacle for you so far?
I've had to learn how to be a student again.
Mm,
Like for the last 10 years, my body and like using my body as a tool has been like my profession, you know what I mean? Whether it's triathlons or challenges or whatever I'm doing, it's generally using my body, acting, producing. I'm using my body, and I've been using this for a very long time, so I know how to use it very well. I have not been using one of these race cars, right? And every single race car is different, and so every track I step on and every car I step into, I have to get right back into that student mindset of you don't know it all. Like as much as you think you've done in your life, like you need to shut up and you need to listen and you need to take direction and be able to be coachable. And that's the biggest thing. I think ego gets in a lot of people's way, especially like when we get into, like I'm over the age of 30. So I know a lot of people, it's hard to tell them something once they hit a certain age. So
Yeah.
I got to it's mindset for me. It's always going to be mindset, I think, when it comes to conquering anything that I'm doing.
Right. And so when is your next race and what are some of the things you want to accomplish in the next event other than obviously leading your team to a win?
So next race, we're at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut.
Mhm.
It's July 22 and 23, I believe, is what it is, or 21, 22.
Yeah.
And it's a tight little track. They call it a bull ring. It's really tight, really fast. And honestly, I don't have these like crazy expectations of like, yeah, we're gonna go out there and win. My whole goal and the team's goal, Diley Motorsports is a first year team, and we've got the youngest driver on the grid, Jake Diley, who's 17 years old. You've
Mm,
got me on the team, who this is race number 2. We've
yeah.
got Cabot Bigham, who is a rally world champ, but he's never raced a TCR car. So
Right.
Daytona was the first time he even got in the car for the first race of the season. And then we have a fourth driver coming in who's coming from the GS class. So again, not a TCR driver. Our big goal is to learn, to face situations and figure them out and learn and have a good, strong showing. Are we going to go out there and win? Probably not. But we definitely want to be, the simple, easy goals: stay on the lead lap, keep both cars in contention for that top 10, for a top 10 spot. And I think overall, to both cars in the top 10. I think those are really good goals for a first year, very young, very green team.
Absolutely. And when it comes to your racing career, do you have some goals set for yourself?
I as a kid, I've always had these like, these things of like, dude, I want to do that. And like the guys that I grew up watching was like Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, like even John Wayne. My dad always had John Wayne on. So like these guys and like Paul and Steve and these guys like race Le Mans. I want to race Le Mans so bad. So
Mm,
like big goal sports car wise, like race Le Mans. I definitely want to, and I think next year I'll get an opportunity to do the Daytona 24, the 12 hours of Sebring. I'd love to hit all the endurance races. Growing up in America, NASCAR was always a
yeah.
huge part of like our culture, and like that was like, Dale, praise Dale and raise Hale,
Yeah.
those
Hmm.
sayings. Like, I think it'd be fun to hop in a NASCAR, some oval racing. And then, simple goals are just like to move up it within IMSA. I'm in the TCR class now. I'd love to be in the GS class eventually. And then the LMPs, that's just a super cool experience. But those things are rocket ships, So just to experience cool cars. I'd like to experience cool cars and keep getting opportunities to potentially travel the world and just drive. I just feel like I still have that in me. I mean, call it ADHD, call it whatever you want, but I just need to be stimulated. But I do get overstimulated with certain things, so I need to have things to jump to. So to be able to go and produce films and act and get that creative side of me out and get to play, because I'm very goofy. Like a lot of people, I think that's something that is missed in the challenge and stuff. Because when I'm in a challenge, my flip is switched. Or like my switch is flipped. Like I'm here for a reason. I'm here to compete. I'm here to win money. But in my daily life, like I'm very goofy. I make voices. I do all kind. Like I love doing characters and things. And so that is very much side like the acting. That's what that I get to release that over there. But then when I want to be super analytical and be very focused and tuned in, then I get in a car get in a car and I go fast, where like high stakes and you got to concentrate and there's adrenaline. And then I love testing my physical abilities, like with the challenge, and that is so mental, and just the environment that we're in. It is a crazy. It's like it is literally the Truman Show. We're like
Yeah,
in the Truman Show, but we're like battling like gladiators. So it's just it all goes into, I think, filling, what I'm always looking for in life. And I think it's just total fulfillment, and I think that the challenge and everything will always be a piece of that.
of course. And one last question for me before I let you go. You were on one of the final seasons of The Real World when it was in Portland. The series ended in 2019, but do you ever think they would bring the series back down the road?
I wish. I've been saying this ever since I did it. I wish they would do. They're revamping everything else,
Right.
right? They've revamped everything. I mean, like they turned Lethal Weapon into a show. Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I want them to do it the way it was originally done. I want them to find artists and creatives who are
Yeah.
trying to do something, who can actually, who do have, who like put, they went to a system of finding people that clashed. Right, there's seven strangers.
Yeah.
They get three people that are on this side of the spectrum, three people on this side of the spectrum, and then one person in the middle. And really, you're just watching the one person in the middle go crazy while these guys do crazy things.
Yeah.
But I want them to go back to like putting creatives who are trying to do something cool. Maybe they're trying to do an initiative with the community, or as well as following their dreams, and those dreams could potentially be helped from a platform like television or streaming. I want them to go back to a heartfelt thing. I think we have enough uh gross reality television, like, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term. I think we have enough of that.
Hmm.
I think that now there is a void for heartfelt reality TV. And I think that the Real World could do that, because this is a whole new world
Yeah.
in what they did that in. There were tons, they had crazy struggles then that we have. It's very similar, but it is a different world. So let's do the same thing, but let's reset the values of the show. Let's reset the system and not pick people who are going to clash just because we know sex and fights get some ratings.
Yeah.
Let's go the other way, because I think that feel good stuff will get them the ratings.
I totally agree. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. Congratulations on everything, and good luck to you on your racing career.